Okay, so this is Psychology 3280, week 3, Neural-Based Subconsciousness. And this week, we are going to overview important clinical cases for consciousness study. Just before starting week 3 lecture, just let's go through the week 2 important points as a recap. First, I explained about the importance of the understanding or expanding our understanding of phenomenology, conscious perception, or conscious experience. And first and foremost, we start with introspection, observing our experience by ourselves. And then not only introspection, we also consider the way to express that conscious experience into the world through the reports and discuss about the pros and cons of each of the methods. And then I showed you a couple of demonstration of exposure to the briefly presented natural scene and how much you can experience even with the glance of the scene. And I made a website link to lead you to a short experiment on such natural scene experiment settings. And I strongly recommend you to participate in that experiment. I'm going to explain the results and also the implication in the week 4 or 5. Then, as you experience by yourself, especially these brief exposure of the stimulus, it is often the case that you may or may not see the stimulus, or you are not very sure that whether you see something or not. And it's not only the problem of the experiencer, you yourself, but it's also a difficulty in terms of interpretation for the experimenters. So I introduced a framework of signal detection theory to discriminate between the dissociate between the criterion of the report or from sensitivity of your experience. And this way, we can tell apart whether you are saying, no, I didn't see it because there was no enough information or enough confidence to say yes, or just you're saying no or yes unclearly because you couldn't actually see it in terms of the due to the problem of sensitivity. Okay, and then further on, I also the second part of the lecture two was about neurons and also neuronal measures. I first started with the basic anatomy or biophysical mechanism of the neurons and its components such as dendrites, which receives action potentials, and axons that delivers action potentials through the cable to other neurons, and then the signal, transmitted through the action potentials. Very briefly. And then the more important thing for you guys to prepare for the week 2 and 4 general club presentation is to understand the basics of the how these action potentials of the each neuron can be potentially picked up by various types of the recording technique. And I said that the EEG is the most coarse measure, but it's cheapest. And then MEG, magnetoencephalography, or ECG, recording from inside the skull, gives you a better spatial and temporal resolution. And then LFP, local field potential, you insert an electrode inside the brain and then record the neural activity more directly. And then finally, after some signal processing, you can start to infer what each of the single neuron is responding in what time. And that's a single unit recording. And then towards the end, I also explained a little bit of the basics about functional magnetic resonance imaging technique, how it what it measures is a broad oxygenation dependent level signals, and it is an indirect estimate of the neural activity, as I mentioned. And although this is a highly indirect measure, it has a very good spatial resolution which is not possible to attain with the EEG or MEG, and it's also non-invasive. So it's widely used right now in the neuroscience, and it has also given rise to a surge of the neuroscience of consciousness since 1990s. And then at the end, I gave now overview of what's the pros and cons of the various measures for each of these things. And here is the recap of the final image. The